There are many shocking facts hidden in the perplexing heights of our planet, some trapped in the ice for millennia. Few are the remnants of the past, while others are majestically mystical. Hold on, as we're ready to discover the most unbelievable things in the mountains. Anaconda. A team of explorers were looking for something incredible in the Brazilian lands when they accidentally stumbled upon something really very shocking. A 33-foot-long giant anaconda shocked its spectators and was believed to be the largest anaconda discovered so far. Unfortunately, it was found expired. It is unclear to state whether the giant anaconda lost its life during an explosion on the construction site or if it had already died and emerged on the land. A crane was used to carry the huge reptile carcass to the center to investigate the real cause of its demise. Before we move any further, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you can keep watching our amazing content. Construction gone wrong. Nothing can go wrong during construction more than finding an 8-meter-long python in the mud. The workforce was so frightened that they had to call Malaysia's civil defense officers to carry out the rescue. The officers, however, not only looked after the snake, but also measured it before taking it to a safer place in Penang, northern Malaysia. The rescuers were so impressed by the apparent massiveness of the snake that they claimed it to be the longest reticulated python ever caught in the wild. And, well, given the size, it might be. Garden of Fugitives. During the excavation of Pompeii, diggers uncovered decomposed bodies of countless victims. In one place, plaster was poured into the spaces left by decomposed bodies, and after the plaster hardened, 13 adults and children were found huddled together, making futile attempts to shield themselves from the onslaught of volcanic dust, pumice, stone, and ash. This place, where once stood an ancient orchard, came to be known as the Garden of the Fugitives, a collection of well-preserved fossilized victims of the Vesuvius eruption, one of the most catastrophic and famous eruptions of all time. And now, it offers visitors a frozen glimpse of Pompeii's appalling last hours. Giant Python. Search well and dig deep. This is all you need to do if you want to become a professional snake charmer. A group of curious snake hunters, while seeking a snake, got excited when their detector spotted the presence of a reptile on the slope side of a riverbank. After careful excavation, the team was shocked to find a huge python hiding inside the so-called cavity that might be enjoying its hibernation. Just when this considerably long and wide python was unearthed, it slithered out of its cave in front of the astonished hunters. Chicken bait trap. Either this was one of the monstrous-sized snakes I've ever seen, or it's time to leave the planet. A Brazilian man in 2018, all frustrated by his missing chickens, set up a trap to catch the culprit, having no idea that the trap was a bit small for the thief. Now the big question, was this an anaconda or a python? My vote goes to it being a reticulated python given its size, width, and agility. What do you think? Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. NAKA Cave. Long ago, in the mystical kingdom of Thailand, a beautiful Naga princess was cursed and was turned into a snake statue. That, with the passing years, became a famous NAKA Cave. Since then, this place has become famous as the Snake Cave. Because of its unique structure, there are infinite folklore stories involving evil serpents and religious myths. Some believe that the cave is handmade, while others claim it to be a fake one. However, scientists have debunked all the mystical theories by concluding that this cave is nothing more than a magnificent work of Mother Nature. Pregnant tigress versus the mob. This might not be the best quality to be presented to you guys, but wait till you watch it. This is a pregnant Bengal tigress, which was targeting the livestock of villagers. Once it was cornered by the angry villagers, she ended up taking shelter up on a tree, but the mob was going insane over their loss. They had sticks and shovels against the tigress, but luckily, rescuers arrived on time. They controlled the mob, rescued the tigress from the pond she had jumped in, and carried her away to a safer place in the wild. All's well if it ends well. Indonesian Python Barbecue. An Indonesian man was crossing a trail in the mountain when he came across a 23-foot python. The snake attacked and bit the man on the arm, but the man unbelievably outmaneuvered it and killed it. He was so outraged by the attack that he not only cut and fried the snake, but also invited the whole village to join this weird barbecue party. The pictures and story of this incident went so viral that CNN had to feature it in its bulletin. Shrieking Mummy. Once upon a time, in the 9th century, a young adult was buried in an oval-shaped tomb on Peru's central coast. Caretakers mummified the individual, wrapped its remains in cloth, placed its hands over its head, and tied its limbs together with rope, in accordance with funerary practices popular in that mountainous region. The mummy rested underground for more than 800 years, until a team of archaeologists announced its discovery as the most unusual mummy of the century. Though the gender of the mummy has not been confirmed, researchers believe that this discovery could be helpful to shed new light on the funerary rituals in prehistoric times. Giant footprint. A prehistoric footprint in the granite outcrop is certainly a convincing piece of evidence that giants once roamed our planet. A 4-foot-long barefoot imprint on Mpumalanga Cliff is believed to be over 200 million years old and became famous as the footprint of God. Based on the relative proportions of the human body, the hypothetical owner of the footprint would have been 24 to 27 feet in height. It has proved a brain teaser for geologists who are struggling to explain it. But for locals, the explanation is simple. It is the footprint left behind by a supernatural being in the distant mythical past. Wyoming handprints. Let's experience one of the most intimate and tangible connections with our ancestors. The White Mountain petroglyph is full of petroglyphs and eye-catching handprints carved into the soft sandstone that offer a time capsule into the 200 to 1,000-year-old plains. These handprints were produced by rubbing fingers on the slightly friable, fluvial quartz rose sandstone cliff face. There are different tales related to these strange handprints. Some believe that these were the woman's handholds on the rocks when they were giving birth, while others believe that these prints were intentionally scooped into the rocks. Neanderthals. Meet these close ancient cousins of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, that are believed to have died about 40,000 years ago. While digging in one of Italy's caves, archaeologists had no idea that the same place where a Neanderthal skull was discovered back in 1939 would also contain some extraordinary remains. The fossilized skull fragments and broken jawbones were found in the prehistoric cave of Rome. The unearthed remains belonged to 7 adult males, a woman and a young boy who had been hunted by hyenas and dragged back to their den, and were preserved there after the cave's opening had been closed off by some ancient natural disaster. 40,000-year-old mammoth remains. Sometimes accidents happen for all the right reasons. A group of excavators working near Plymouth unknowingly uncovered some remarkable array of artifacts that had been laid undisturbed and untouched until their discovery. The 60,000-year-old remains were found along with the jaws of a woolly rhino, a wolf, and a hyena. This special occurrence of this glacial period skeletons from the cave in Devon is really unbelievable and is thought to give a brilliant insight into the animals which roamed around the Ice Age thousands of years ago, as well as a better understanding of the environment and climate at that time. Grave of Beheaded Viking. Now check this most exciting and disturbing discovery of the century made in 2009. A crew of Viking mercenaries, some of the fiercest killers in the medieval world, were found in a mysterious mass grave in the south of England. 50 skeletons were unearthed during road construction. All skeletons were mysteriously decapitated, and the bodies were thrown into the shallow graves with their heads piled up to one side. The analysis of men's teeth revealed they were Vikings, executed with sharp blows to the head during the Dark Ages, when Vikings frequently invaded the region. George Mallory. In May 1999, a mountaineer discovered a pale, solid object with hobnail boots while climbing the world's highest peak, which later appeared to be a mummified, frozen human body. A label sewn into the tattered clothing revealed that the remains belonged to George Mallory, a renowned mountaineer who lost his life while trying to become the first person to scale Mount Everest in 1924, and, unfortunately, was unknown for 75 years. The body was found partially buried under rocks about 8,000 meters above sea level, but whether Mallory reached the summit before he died is still a subject of debate and continuing research. Crushed by rock. The legs of a headless skeleton protruding from beneath a large jamb block of stone that had been violently thrown by something really powerful. Meet this 30-year-old guy who was found crushed by an enormous stone while trying to flee the violent volcanic cloud thrown by the explosion of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Archaeologists were able to discover the remains of the poor victim who had his thorax crushed with a large rectangular stone embedded in his upper torso. It was believed that the victim might have suffered a bone infection that would have caused him running difficulties, impeding his escape and leading to a dramatic end. Stegomastodon fossil. There are more fossils than we have ever thought, and discovering one accidentally is beyond exciting. While exploring the region's mountains, a 9-year-old boy tripped over something protruding from the earth. At first, he thought it was just a big, fat, rotten cow, but a clear answer was far away from his imagination. A researcher's team identified it as part of a stegomastodon skull, a primitive mammal that lived an estimated 1.2 million years ago. After careful excavation, some fragile pieces of tusks were dug from the ground. The fossil was coated in plaster and was transported to a vertebrate museum for further studies. Otzi. Meet Otzi, the Iceman, who was naturally preserved by more than 5,000 years of sun, wind, and freezing temperatures. The leathery remains of Otzi were melting out of the ice and were accidentally discovered by hikers in 1999 in the Ötztal Alps. The body was frozen, with his left arm twisted under his body, with the skin still covering his bones. This 5-foot man weighed 50 kilograms when alive, and was estimated to have been in his mid-40s at the time of his end. Carbon dating revealed another shocking truth. It turned out to be a 5,300-year-old Iceman who walked the Earth nearly 1,000 years before the Great Pyramids. Huge camel carvings. A series of camel sculptures precisely carved into rock faces. Well, it's not any new discovery in Egypt, but this unusual finding was made in Saudi Arabia, and it's even older than the landmarks of Stonehenge and Giza. It is not clear why the camel sculptures were created, but the researchers have suggested that they could have provided a meeting point for nomadic tribes 7,000 to 8,000 years ago. Researchers understood the difficulty of making such works thousands of years ago, because many of the reliefs were too high, meaning their carvers would have had to build scaffolding to create them. Great Wall Fort. About 10 kilometers away from the Great Wall of China, a rare, well-preserved ancient fort dating back to the Ming Dynasty was discovered in April 2020. The castle was found in an earth ditch from where locals took soil to build roads. 2 well-preserved courtyards, houses, and temples were discovered, whose walls still retain patterns, styles, and characteristics of the Ming Dynasty. Painted clay figures, stone statues, incense burners, glazed tiles, and defensive weapons were also unearthed. This complete castle was believed to be attacked and repaired multiple times, and was finally abandoned and quickly covered and buried by the desert because no large-scale evidence of human activities in the area has been found. 42,000-year-old horse. Every so often, the nearly intact remains of ancient creatures emerge from perpetually frozen soils. Now, a group of mammoth tusk hunters has made another remarkable discovery in the Siberian region. A 2-week-old, well-preserved foal with pristine skin, hair, tail, and hooves was found in the enormous Batagaika crater. No signs of external damage were found, but a lot of mud and silt inside its gastrointestinal tract indicated that the young horse might have drowned in a natural mud trap that later froze into permafrost. Surprisingly, the specimen also contained the oldest liquid blood, which can pave a path for further analysis and resurrecting the extinct lineage to which it belongs. Miniature coffins. In 1836, a group of teenagers hunting for rabbits was stunned to discover a small cave closed with a thin slate. Inside the cave were 17 tiny coffins, each about 3.7 inches long, arranged in 2 rows of 8, with a solitary coffin at the start of the 3rd row. No one knows for how long they were there. Inside each was a small wooden doll, carved with wide open eyes, covered in cotton clothes from bare head to flat feet, and some were missing body parts. The question of who and why carved these figures and coffins has been a mystery ever since. Were these objects tools of witchcraft or part of a pagan ritual? Do any one of you know? Dinosaur skin. A rare discovery excited paleontologists after they noticed a fossilized bone sticking out of a cliffside in Alberta, something they have never seen before. What they found was a hadrosaur, a herbivorous duck-billed dinosaur, referred to as the cow of the Cretaceous period, and was so well preserved that it still had the skin on it. Even the exposed parts of the fossil, including the animal's small tail and right hind foot, indicated it was likely a juvenile hadrosaur. The skin, on the other hand, offered a unique window into understanding these animals from millions of years ago. Hanging coffins. Throughout our long history, humans have come up with some very creative ways of burying our dead, but this funerary custom from China is most peculiar of all. Carefully placed in an airy, rainproof, and dry vertical cemetery on a cliff face, these 24 wooden coffins were mysteriously hidden for more than 2,000 years, with no signs of decomposition. In this kind of burial, the corpse was placed inside the coffin in a fetal position as a symbolic return to where it came from. Then, the coffin was delicately suspended high above the ground. This gravity-defying graveyard is believed to bring the departed closer to his ancestral spirits in heaven and makes him one with nature. Largest crystal caves. Buried 1,000 feet below NAKA mountain in an abandoned silver mine in Spain, there lies a treasure that's not made from any precious metal at all. Instead, what's hidden here is a natural crystal phenomenon that has stunned scientists. The world's largest geode, a cavity inside a rock that is covered with crystals. Anchored to the walls and floor of a sweltering cave, the crystals went through at least 500,000 years of uninterrupted growth. Many are long and wide enough to walk across, and honestly, look like Superman's fortress of solitude. Breathing roots. Imagine discovering something really bizarre while searching for something unique. Sounds pretty dramatic. A man, during a hiking expedition, was shocked to see the giant roots of a tree suddenly start rising and falling as if lifted by a giant just below the soil. Well, let me explain to you what actually happens. This natural phenomenon occurs when Earth does a breathing exercise by lurching up and down, which leaves a lot of the root systems of younger trees lodged in a loose medium. As the wind sways the trees, the roots lift the floor, and this to and fro movement of the ground gives an appearance of breathing. Mammoth skeleton. This random discovery validates the daydreams of every farmer who has imagined stumbling across something eccentric in his backyard. A Michigan farmer, along with his friend, found something really odd while digging land to make way for a new natural gas line. After unearthing what looked like a bent fence post caked with mud, They discovered it was part of a pelvis from an ancient woolly mammoth that lived up to 15,000 years ago. Aside from the pelvis, they found the skull and 2 tusks, along with numerous vertebrae, ribs, and shoulder blades. This 20% of the animal's skeleton was believed to be killed, butchered, and stored by ancient humans. ROOPKUND Lake. High in the Himalayas, a remote lake nestled 16,500 feet above in a snowy valley is home to the scattered skeletal remains of several hundred individuals of unknown origin. This mysterious lake of skeletons was discovered in 1942, and since then has become a puzzling question for the whole scientific community. No one is exactly sure what might have happened to all these people. When and how they ended up in the mountains is unknown. There are various theories associated with the remains, yet the apparent age of the bones quickly dispelled these ideas, making this cemetery of ROOPKUND Lake a subject of mysterious debate until a convincing explanation can be found. Fossilized tree. Apart from unearthing fossilized remains, skeletons, or artifacts, experts have made an extraordinary discovery of a fossilized tree that is believed to be petrified by a volcanic eruption 20 million years ago in Greece. The 62-foot-long tree was found during road work near an ancient forest with fully intact roots and branches. The tree was removed from the road using a special splint and metal platform and is thought to provide a rare glimpse of a Miocene forest in terms of its size and density. Experts hope to assess the biodiversity of the ecosystem by studying the rare fossil in detail. Cave of glowing termites. The beautiful lights suspended on the walls and roofs of the Waitomo Cave are a spectacular sight to observe in New Zealand. Thanks to the little glowworms whose tiny tails are bioluminescent, which means that the chemicals it secretes react with the oxygen in the air to create light. The glowworm's prey is attracted to the light and gets trapped by the sticky threads the glowworms spin from the roof of the cave. This is why their scientific name includes spider-like, because they catch their food as spiders do, just with an added light show. Mount Nemrut. This site is compelling proof of the megalomania of a ruler who thought he was equal to the gods, so he ordered the erection of an artificial mound of crushed rock 50 meters high on the mount's top. Crowning one of the highest peaks of the eastern mountain range in southeast Turkey, the mysterious, bodiless limestone faces of ancient gods from Greek and Persian mythology and a Hellenistic king's gaze were built around 49 BC by King Antiochus I as a monument to himself. Archaeologists are still wondering how the statues were constructed without modern technology, or where the body of Antiochus is interred in the complicated tomb complex. Giant Anaconda. A giant anaconda shocked its spectators while it was spotted on the Rocky Mountains in Saudi Arabia. When the reptile was disturbed by the curious onlookers, it slightly slithered away into the nearby bushes. Generally, anacondas are believed to live in swamps, marshes, and slow-moving streams, so spotting one on the mountains is quite unusual. It appears to be a huge snake emerging from the hillside, with hundreds of people nonchalantly standing by its side. This picture was badly manipulated by a 50-year-old man who created a panic among the locals of Sichuan province after posting this picture on social media. He claimed it was a dragon that might have caused a deadly earthquake in the province. Some people were in fact convinced by this post, despite its poor quality, while others who did not fall for it naturally pointed out how poorly the image was used. However, the gossiper was arrested for spreading rumors and even confessed by writing a letter of apology. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like it and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again!